Hello, world. Welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so good to be with all of you today. It is Wednesday, Hump Day, the epicenter of a very, very busy broadcast week. It is December 17th, and it's great to see all of you. We are live on Rumble, live on Twitter, Spreely TV, Roku TV, Apple TV, Substack, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, we're there. We're going to have a plan put together for TikTok, by the way, launching TikTok in January of 2026. Lots of new collaborations in the works for the Shannon Joy Show coming up. Big year in 2026 and 2027. And we're going to launch right into it because you need the truth. We need genuine news, truth tellers out there, independents, not left, not right, just the truth, straight up, no chaser, every single day from people who are not in the system. And so that's how we're trying to build this platform. We couldn't do it without all of you. Great to see you all in the live chat. Zen Woman, great to see you on the live chat, the very first live chatter on Rumble. And of course, if you're the first live chatter, you get your comment read. Zen Woman, can't get used to my time change. Haha, good morning, folks. Well, good to see you, Zen. I don't know where you are in the world, but I'm glad that you're here with all of us at 12:20 p.m. Eastern time on the Shannon Joy Show. As usual, I'm late. I know. I've just had a morning. Let me tell you, I'm so glad all the kids are home. My son Jackson is home from college and everyone's getting ready for the holidays. And it's great. I love it. It's great. But I got to tell you, when the kids are home and the husband is home and they're all on holiday, especially Jack, they just destroy the house. So the kitchen was an absolute bomb today. I'm on a strike. I have absolutely refused to clean up the kitchen, do the dishes, because I literally use one coffee cup and one bowl a day. And the rest of them are in there making gourmet meals, which is great. I love it. But it's 17 pans in the kitchen that I need to clean up. So it's just, I was, yelling at my son this morning, of course. That got me started late. And then I had hair issues, and yeah, it's just one of those days. Thank God for Inez Annie Cyrus, who is producing the Shannon Joy Show today. She's awesome. CM 1968 is great to see you today on the live chat. CJP Rumble is with us with 2 thumbs up and a heart. Opossum King, great to see you. Mow my lawn. I love it. Good morning, Joy fans. Love seeing new names on the live chat. Great to see you. Hey, Slim Jones. Glad to see you. I came here for the laughs, and you guys never, ever, ever disappoint. Hey, Mod Trend. Good to see you as well. We have Dino Fun. And no sound. Let's see. Okay, CJP Rumble says, if you guys don't have sound, it's probably, no sound on the intro. Okay, that's what it is. So you guys can hear what I'm saying now. Yeah, Annie, I don't think we have sound on my intro, like the musical intro to the show. And so I'm gonna have to get that for you. General Patton, great to see you on the live chat. Big show today. The latest on Reality DC. Yes, it is a soap opera, WWE wrestling. I coined the term Reality DC about 10 years ago. Now everyone's using it, the fake fight, the fake wrestling. Everyone knows that the Uniparty is firmly ensconced in Washington, DC, Democrats and Republicans working together. Of course, the Republicans don't even need the Democrats these days to wage their fake fights. They're fighting with each other. And It's quite interesting to watch. Susie Wiles is taking her throne. Move over, Donald Trump. There's a new sheriff in town. We're going to talk to special guest, independent influencer Carey Wedler. She is a political analyst, completely independent. Can't wait for you guys to meet her at the bottom of the hour. But I will tell you this first and foremost: Susie Wiles does not make mistakes. There are many takes on the Vanity Fair expose that is dominating news headlines left and right these days. But the one take that I think we can completely reject and omit from discussion is the one that paints Wiles as a bumbling, miscalculating fool who was tricked by those mean, big, bad players over at Vanity Fair. She's been working on this for quite some time, guys, curating her Cruella de Vil villain vibe for quite some time with all of the hair and the look and the photo op and spread that was rolled out in Vanity Fair. Bottom line, I think that the Vanity Fair piece delivered exactly what Susie Wiles and her handlers ordered. The slobbering response, which we'll go over from Team Trump, also obviously calculated and controlled, is all the proof that I need to know that this is one big show. More importantly, I think that this piece, the Vanity Fair piece, is signaling the end of the Trump power narrative and setting us up for a new power paradigm. And this is one with Wiles in the driver's seat. I don't think that she's going to be begging for her job. I don't think that Trump is going to be kicking her to the curb. I don't think that there's going to be an apology tour. That was very clear yesterday when the entirety of the Trump cabinet and Trump associates came out one after another at the exact same time on Twitter to defend the woman who just threw every one of them under the bus in the Vanity Fair piece. Oh, by the way, they all engaged. They had a big photo op for that very piece. J.D. Vance included, Carolyn Levitt, all of them posing for this kind of Game of Thrones or, I don't know, House of Cards, power posture with Susie Wiles right there. I mean, this is so obvious to me. So, the fact that they came out slobbering all over Susie, I think, is a very obvious tell. And from my perspective, it appears we are witnessing a very peaceful. Now, I did ask about a coup d'etat yesterday, but I said that kind of tongue in cheek. I think Donald Trump is perfectly happy with handing over the reins to Susie Wiles. He can go on the election campaign tour. He can dance around on the stage and wear his hat and do all the things that Trump likes to do. That will be his role. But the role of running the government and ruling our lives and creating a lot of chaos for the American people, that's going to be left to the big boys. Well, the big girl, Susie Wiles, in the White House. And so I think we're witnessing a very peaceful, actually, transfer of power among the oligarchs. And Wiles is clearly, from my perspective, I could be wrong, casted as the new boss. All right. So this is going to be sent out to all the investors to make them feel good about their investment, all of the tech bros and the big banksters, the oligarchs that are influencing the power structure in the White House. Yes, of course, Israel and AIPAC and all of, those characters as well. I think that this is just very obvious. So clearly there's something very fake happening in Washington, D.C. It is a show, reality, DC, WWE wrestling. That part is fake. The players are fake. They are involved in fake fighting with each other and with the left. And that extends to Candace Owens and Erica Kirk and Megyn Kelly, TPUSA, Daily Wire, Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes. They're all fighting with each other, but in the back rooms at Tucker Carlson's party, they're all super chummy, hanging out, laughing all the way to the bank, the same way that the Democrats and Republicans used to laugh all the way to the bank after they would appear as enemies on mainstream news media. So the part that I didn't anticipate, this was not on my bingo card for 2026, was the involvement of mainstream left-wing news media outlets. So, Vanity Fair participating in the circus sideshow. We had Barry Weiss and CBS participating in the right-wing circus sideshow with her interview of Erica Kirk. We even had the New York Times playing into a lot of this with their exposés on Nick Fuentes and Andrew Tate, other kind of bizarro con characters in this whole mess of a soap opera that is American politics today. When I got into this business, guys, I thought I would be analyzing the news and politics. I didn't know that I would be babysitting script writers and drama creators in what is clearly scripted reality television in Washington, D.C. Mark the Reagan, PSYOPs 24/7, 365, y'all. Have I said that before? That's right. They come in to cash in and then they cash out. There are some immutable laws in politics. In fact, I think that's the book I'm going to write. People always ask me if I'm going to write a book. And I'm like, I don't think anyone should write any type of book before they're at least 50. And I'm not 50 yet, so I have no plans to write a book. Okay, but if I were to write a book, it would be on the immutable laws of politics in the 21st century, particularly 26, 27, 28 as we move forward. And it would be about how to fight back and still be a good person. Keep your soul, be able to look yourself in the mirror, kiss your kids goodnight, and wage that good war without sacrificing your principles and your soul and your spirit to the decrepit people that run Washington, D.C. But it would be about these laws. And there are some laws. I have a couple here. And we've learned these over the years, 12 years of the Shannon Joy Show. We've gone through a lot of these immutable laws, and we've learned from the cycles and from observation. And one of them that we recently learned that we're actually wielding in quite a powerful way is that politicians and government people only understand money and power. Money and pain. And if you don't have money, then you better be prepared to inflict pain on politicians relentlessly until they do what you tell them to do. And that comes from bottom-up localized organization, refusal to comply, and peaceful noncompliance. And that's happening in the US and across the globe. By the way, I don't know if you've seen the headlines, but the farmers are revolting again, which is glorious to watch in Greece and Italy and the UK. And in France, we have an uprising. I love it when the farmers uprise across Europe. And so there's a lot happening there, which we're going to be covering in the next few weeks. There's also, here's another law, there's also an inverse relationship between the rationality and sanity of civilians, you and me, okay, and that of our overlords, the people who run things. And so the more sane that you get and I get, the more we screw our heads on straight, the crazier they get. And that's why the headlines are crazier and crazier and crazier. And they look like cartoon characters. I mean, Susie Wiles is a cross between Cruella de Vil and the really scary wizard in Harry Potter. I forget her name. But she was super scary, like with the hair and the look and all of it. And you're just thinking to yourself, like, this isn't real. I mean, I get what they're trying to convey, but it's just so obviously not real. And so the point is, when you gain your mind, right, they lose theirs. Another immutable law of politics in the 21st century is that fear is the ultimate mind slayer. Fear is actually one of the ways that they control us the most, and also division. It is their ultimate tool. This is why we have to have the left and the right, black and white, male and female. We have to have infighting in conservative media and infighting within the Republican Party and infighting with the Democrat Party. It is always the first strategy is to divide movements, especially movements that are built on truth. And no one understands this better than my next guest. Her name is Carey Wedler. She's a brilliant political analyst, and she's coming out with just some brilliant commentary, really great videos that are thoughtful and put together in a way that helps people understand the circus sideshow, the uniparty, and the way that they divide us constantly. But she backs those videos up with really great Substacks as well, really thought-provoking pieces. A couple of them I've linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show today. And we're gonna introduce you to Carey Wedler in just a couple moments, and we're gonna talk about Susie Wiles and the crazy town that is American politics in 2025 as we move into a new year. So buckle up, guys. We have Carey Wedler coming in just a moment. We're going to talk about a whole host of issues and some of the headlines of the day. And of course, we have the amazing Dr. Mary Talley Bowden joining us at the top of the hour, right around 12:10 p.m. She's going to come in. We're going to do our crossover half hour. We'll probably talk about Susie Wiles again, too, because as you know, Susie Wiles was a big pharmaceutical lobbyist. She's connected to the Russians. She's connected to the Israelis. She's connected to the pharma lobbies. And we were telling you this. I was telling you this years ago. I think as early as spring of 2024, when Susie Wiles joined Donald Trump's campaign right after he won the nomination after the Iowa caucus. She came in very quickly, and, you know, we knew Susie Wiles immediately. We knew exactly who she was and who she was working for. Tried to warn everyone, but, you know, I got yelled at for it and ousted from Maha and MAGA, which I was already ousted from. So, you know, tragically, sadly, we were right again here on the Shannon Joy Show. I hate being right, by the way. I'm the only broadcaster out there that really doesn't want to be right about a lot of the things that I'm saying. But unfortunately, we are. Mo Maimon, thank you so much. SJ, you are wise beyond your years. Well, I'm actually not that young. I'm almost 50, so I can write a book. And it is going to be about those immutable laws. But enough from me. I want to hear from Carey Wedler. I want to hear her backstory. I want to hear about how she became so wise at such a young age. And we're going to introduce you to her in just a moment right here on the Shannon Joy Show. But first, we're going to hear a word from our sponsors. Please patronize the sponsors of the Shannon Joy Show. We are so thankful for the satellite phone store. We are so thankful for Don Polano over PCM and Associates, our friends at the Wellness Center or the Wellness Company who support and sponsor Dr. Mary Talley Bowden and her show, which I co-produce, which is On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. Just amazing people. We are so thankful for them. Rocket Dollar. And I cannot wait till tomorrow. By the way, mark your calendars. The amazing Peter Schiff is joining me tomorrow live in the Joy Virtual Studio. He just got done with an interview with Tucker Carlson, by the way. Very interesting. He's going to be with me tomorrow live on the Shannon Joy Show. We have a big announcement about 2026. We're going to continue to bring you truth tellers here on the Shannon Joy Show. It's not about me. It's about all of the brilliant independent minds out there, scientists, researchers, political analysts, commentators, economic analysts, you name it. We bring you the best on the Shannon Joy Show. And they're the best because they haven't sold out, because they are willing to challenge both political parties. They're unwilling to be dragged into either faction. And a lot of them lose in a lot of ways, but they gain their souls. And that's super exciting. So we have so many great voices to introduce you to and to reintroduce you to on the Shannon Joy Show as we move into the new year. By the way, Catherine Austin Fitz also scheduled for January 8th. It's a Thursday, and she's going to be in for a full hour, probably an hour and a half on the Shannon Joy Show. So we're going to be bringing her in as well. Lots of great stuff coming up. But yes, please take care of our sponsors. You're going to hear from them right now. We'll be back in a moment to continue with Carey Wedler right here on the Shannon Joy Show. And Mary and I came together trying to figure out, you know, how we're going to do this show. They were there for us with sponsorship that helped us to put this together and get it on the air. So we are super thankful for them. And they have a great new product. I don't know if you guys have ever been struggling, or if you are struggling with mood swings, low energy, or hormonal imbalances. Venus and Mars are two great new products from the Wellness Company. They're doctor-formulated nutraceuticals designed to restore balance, energy, and vitality without synthetic hormones or stimulants. Ladies, Venus supports estrogen and progesterone balance. It eases PMS and cramping while also boosting your energy with clinically dosed ingredients like DIM, maca, Vitex, and broccoli sprouts. There is no fluff and no filler in this product. Now for the fellas, Mars has a product that naturally increases your testosterone, enhances circulation, and improves strength and focus with tongatali, tribulus, horny goat weed, and zinc. And every ingredient is present in a meaningful and safe dose. There are no gimmicks, just clean daily hormone support for both men and women. And I hear it also helps a little bit in the bedroom as well, but we won't go there. If you are a couple looking for a boost, Venus and Mars will have you feeling like you are on another planet. Head to twchealth.com/Mary and use the promo code MARY to get 10% off plus free shipping. That's twc.health/Mary and use the promo code MARY, MARY, to get 10% off plus free shipping. You might want to consider checking out Rocket Dollar. Go to www.rocketdollar.com/Shannon Joy, and you can get an IRA information packet. You can start investing as soon as your account is funded. And with the self-directed IRA, you can invest in a variety of alternative assets outside of what many believe is a corrupt and bloated, inflated stock market dominated predominantly by the tech companies. So you can invest in real estate in your own backyard, right? In your own community. You can invest in private equity or a startup, even precious metals, gold and silver. They have the self-directed gold and silver backed IRAs, which is real gold and silver that is funded through your IRA. These are all ways for you to use your IRA accounts to your benefit and stop partnering with the federal government. So go to rocketdollar.com/Shannon Joy. That is rocketdollar.com/Shannon Joy.
Ever wonder why the masses seem completely brainwashed and lost in delusion and hysteria as they enslave themselves to corrupted, lying authoritarians? I have a theory. The fight or flight stress response is essential for surviving life and death situations, but it's triggered for far more than that in the modern world. People are constantly exposed to potent, emotionally activating, horrifying imagery and problems that propagandists and politicians exploit, keeping much of the public caught in powerful, distressing anxiety. The 24-hour news cycle and social media algorithms amplify this emotional charge, sowing division and stoking outrage. It's not a revelation that people are reactive and scared, but lesser known is what happens to the brain and critical thinking abilities when people are perpetually steeped in fear. When fight or flight is chronically activated, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain most associated with reasoning and logic, can become impaired. The dendrites and spines of neurons in this region may grow weaker and connectivity can be reduced as stress wears on the brain. Meanwhile, the amygdala, a key part of the stress response that also plays a massive role in emotions, can become hyperactive and dominant. When people are stuck in fight or flight, their higher thinking abilities are not leading the way. One of the most pervasive stressors is arguably the current political paradigm and all the chaos and instability it produces. From economic stress to fear of authoritarianism and perceived enemies both domestically and abroad, the fight or flight response seems to be activated on a collective, perpetual scale. Add in that stress often leads people to numb out with unhealthy substances that are also shown to weaken cognitive function, and it's pretty unsurprising that people are growing increasingly unhinged over time. I'm not claiming available evidence proves that propaganda and the political system are single-handedly rotting people's minds. I'm viewing what's known about stress in the brain through a lens of collective crowd psychology and the very observable stress and chaos rattling through the political paradigm and society. Making matters worse, lifelong conditioning into obedience and the belief in the legitimacy of political authority keeps people instinctively turning toward the very entity endangering them and propagandizing them, the ruling class, to keep them safe. Politicians perpetuate the problems and conditions that create so much stress and fear, and people desperate for relief hand over their agency and livelihoods as they wait for authoritarians to save them. The good news is that the same neuroplasticity that allows the brain to be warped into dysregulation also allows the brain to come back into balance. With enough information, intention, and dedication, along with grounding, reconnection to Earth, spirit, and each other, and alternative ideas for humans to evolve past this twisted paradigm, change is possible, meaning perhaps there's hope, as far off as it may seem now. This isn't to say that every person who subscribes to mainstream politics has an impaired prefrontal cortex and is constantly trapped in a vortex of terror and fear. But on a collective scale, it's hard to watch the panicking herds as they perpetually fall for false promises from wolves in sheep's clothing and not see that chronic stress, propaganda, and political chaos are at least in part driving the masses to collectively lose their minds.
And that is Carey Wedler. And it's why I reached out to her a couple weeks ago. That is one of her shorts that she pushes out on her social media platforms. And what I love about Carey Wedler, first and foremost, she looks at everything from beyond a left-right paradigm. She holds both political parties accountable. And she backs everything up. I mean, these shorts are very powerful. This is just one of many, many shorts that she has put out that have gone viral, but she doesn't just put the shorts out. She backs them up in a very thoughtful Substack, Pleasure to Burn. You can find all of her information and all of her socials over at careywedler.com. That's careywedler.com. Carey, welcome to the Shannon Joy Show for the very first time. Not only are you beautiful and engaging and well-spoken, but there is a brain to back up all of that and some really thoughtful political analysis coming from you. I'm so glad you're on the scene right now. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me and for such a glowing introduction. I hope I live up to it.
Absolutely. No, I've really enjoyed your shorts and they get better and better. And I love to present to my audience other truth tellers. It's not just about the things that I say to them and the topics that I'm interested in every day. We need all hands on deck. We need as many independent platformers and truth tellers out there as possible. We need to elevate each other and push each other out because I think things are going to get very sketchy in 2026 and 2027. So, it's a little bit self-serving, Carey. I'm drafting you into the movement here, and I know that you were out of it for a little while. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and just tell us your story first? We'll get into some of the politics of the day. I hope to feature you regularly on the Shannon Joy Show if you're up for it, because I think you're going to have some really important hot takes and analysis moving forward. But how did you come to such wisdom at such a young age? And tell us a little bit about your operation.
Cool. It's interesting. I actually have Barack Obama to thank for my radicalization because my political life started out being a fervent Barack Obama supporter and thinking he was going to change history and he was the second coming of Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy and everything was going to change. I mean, I have memories of telling people like, you're on the wrong side of history. You don't like Barack Obama. Good luck. You'll see. I was wrong, obviously. Yeah. And that became pretty apparent once he took office. And that was what first started to bring me to question the political system because I had trusted everything he said so wholeheartedly and without any questioning, which is a big problem in the political system for a lot of people. But we're not taught to do anything else, and I think actually, just to go off on a side little tangent, I think that's actually indicative of human goodness is that you don't assume you're being lied to. You don't assume that someone who seems sincere is actually completely full of crap. So I think that's actually a good thing for human souls and humanity's soul. But anyway, I did fall for it. I believed him. And then very quickly, I saw that he was not going to change anything. He continued George Bush's wars. He was very entrenched with the banking industry. And then I found Ron Paul. And he was a wonderful antidote to everything that I had been taught. And he led me down a path of understanding liberty and freedom. And then I got really into the Ron Paul campaign. And if you remember 2012, he didn't make it very far. And as I was watching, I just had this realization that anyone with real principle, anyone who truly wanted to challenge the power structures was probably not going to be invited to have any influence over those power structures.
Right.
In a substantial way. And so I started questioning really the foundational tenets of the system, not just this politician or that politician. I started questioning what underpins it, which, as I came to learn, really is violence and coercion. That's where all of this authority is derived from. That's how they could persecute people during COVID. It's how they persecute people who dissent. I mean, there's always a threat of violence, even just to collect taxes. Well, if you don't pay, what happens? You might go to jail. And if you don't want to go to jail and you resist peacefully, they're not going to be peaceful about it. They will push and push and push until there is violence involved. And that became a real underpinning. Because even when I supported Obama, my biggest issue had always been anti-war. I just viscerally felt like there's something wrong with this paradigm that it's okay for these governments to inflict such widespread violence. And that came to inform my broader philosophical views. And I ended up as editor-in-chief of a news organization called the Anti-Media back in 2014. I started with them. And that was like my dream job. I mean, I got to talk about all these issues. We got to report on them. And of course, we were censored back in 2018 before the big waves really came. We were kind of one of the first batches of just brazen kick you off the platform.
Right. Carey, that was
Yeah.
Jason Bassler's
Yeah.
operation. Okay.
Uh,
So we
he's just,
featured Jason
yeah.
Bassler on the show, and was a truly stunning. I mean, before 2020, before the censorship of the medical freedom community, before what we saw during the dark days of Biden, you guys were the one of the very first. I mean, and it was quite a abrupt censorship too. I mean, they just shut you
Yeah.
guys down.
Yeah, they were the Free Thought Project and we were the anti-media, but we worked together. We were kind of partner pages and we would
Right.
promote each other because we cared about all the same issues and shared philosophy. And I love that Jason's still going at it so
Oh
hard all
yeah.
these years later.
Yeah.
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 But that really, I mean, that was a big punch in the gut for us because we felt like we were really reaching people and we were at the time. And this is back when Facebook was the big platform everyone was on, but we were reaching millions of people every week. I mean, I think we were outdoing mainstream media, at least on some stories. And that was rough. The censorship. It was Facebook and Twitter on the same day. Without
Wow.
going, yeah. If you read the pinned article on my Substack, you get into the details of what we think might have happened. But these agencies, these institutions are so shadowy. It's really hard to know. Are we ever going to get any documentation? Probably not. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, then I ended up kind of going back to my roots with videos, and that's still what I do. And I launched my Substack last year because I missed writing as well.
Mm.
I write all my videos, so I'm really a writer first, and then it's I put them to video because that's a more accessible way in the internet age. But lots of writing, lots of videos, and really just trying to share what I learn along the way. I think every video I make is just something that occurs to me that seems
Mhm.
true to me based on the information I can gather and how I can make sense of it. And so I feel really grateful that I get to just share that with people online as I learn as I go along because I don't think I'll ever be done learning.
Excellent, excellent. Well, on that theme, I mean, one of your core issues, and one of the issues that I have come around to your way of thinking, like you, I was on, the right-leaning side of the two-party political paradigm. When I started my show 12 years ago, I was a card-carrying member of the Republican Party, listened to Rush Limbaugh every day, and voted Republican down the line ever since I could vote, since I was 18 years old. Loved Ronald Reagan, demanded that we go to war in the Middle East to combat terrorism after the trauma of 9/11, which, to your point, violence and fear moves people into a mind space where they can be manipulated. And I can see now how I was manipulated by my own fear created by that day. And that was a mass trauma event for Generation X, which I am. So it was my generation. I'll never forget that. But so, a big supporter of the wars until we realized that we were completely lied to about the weapons of mass destruction. And then, after I started my show, it took me about 2 years to figure out this was all a complete fraud. And that's when I came up with Reality DC and the Unibrow Party, which is what I originally called it, like a nasty, gnarly unibrow that grows together over time. Like once they were separate and distinct, but over time they have grown together and now it's nasty. So, I mean, that was kind of my understanding of it. And so for the past 10 years, I've kind of been a voice in the wilderness that got me ousted out of the right wing media pipeline. And then also, of course, my refusal to accept Donald Trump as a legitimate conservative Republican. I'm like, this guy is a New York City liberal Democrat. Like, this is so obvious to me. So, but in the area of war, I would love to go to you on what is happening in Venezuela, because you also did a piece, you did a video on Venezuela, which I would like to run quickly to kind of set you up. And again, guys, one of the things I love about Carey is not only does she create compelling videos, which she writes herself, but she backs it up with incredibly compelling and well-sourced Substacks, which I just think is great. So Annie, if we could run the Venezuela video short that Carey recently produced, and then I'd like to hear your thoughts on what's going on in Venezuela right now and how we're being moved towards a war statue or a war situation in this country. People have to really understand what they're trying to do, what they're trying to cover up. But let's take a look at that piece by Carey Wedler.
Once again, the US military is on the attack. And once again, we're being told it's absolutely 5D chess necessary. But in the past, American authorities have lied and manipulated to justify the invasion of Iraq based on deceptions about weapons of mass destruction, toppling Gaddafi over claims of an impending massacre that turned out to be false, invading Iraq the first time based on lies about babies and incubators, going to war in Vietnam over manipulations about the Gulf of Tonkin incident, and declaring war with Spain over a century ago based on unsubstantiated claims about the sinking of the USS Maine. But it's different this time, according to MAGA logic, because the very trustworthy agents of the US government have said that Venezuela is host to very bad actors and scary, dangerous drugs that put Americans at risk. It's patriotic to blow up these boats and stick the CIA on Venezuela, except Venezuela is not a top source of fentanyl entering the United States, no matter how many times Trump tries to link the country to it. The country may play some role in the cocaine trade, though not a top one. Even the DEA failed to mention Venezuela as a key player in their annual report. Drug cartels are definitely vicious and violent, and Maduro is certainly an authoritarian, but lies for war are almost always based on kernels of truth about how evil the enemy is. Propagandists appeal to your morals and desire for safety while pummeling you into being so scared that you beg daddy government to protect you and cheer egregious expansions of power. In this case, giving one man the authority to order murders of whoever he wants without providing any proof that they're guilty. Not to mention that the CIA has been eyeing Venezuela for years.
Anytime you have a country as large and with the economic capacity of a country like Venezuela, America has a deep interest in making sure that it is stable and as democratic as possible. And so we're working hard to do that.
And Trump was seeking regime change there long before he concocted his war on narco-terrorism. Neocon hacks are endorsing these actions too, further undermining the MAGA cult's belief that Trump is a renegade peacemaker fighting the cartels, the swamp, and the deep state. The war on terror failed to stop terror, and the war on drugs failed to stop drugs. In fact, both wars arguably exacerbated the problems they promised to remedy. These two failures are now converging into the mutant war on narco-terrorism, while Trump supporters who identify as immune to propaganda lap up official narratives. Both failed wars also led to sweeping violations of civil liberties in the name of security. So what could go wrong with the war on narco-terrorism? What's more likely? Operatives of the US government and empire are behaving as they always have, obscuring the truth to justify violence and expansions of authority with documented establishment warmongers at the helm. Or this time they're really definitely telling the truth. If you believe the narco-terrorists in Venezuela are a bigger threat to you than the megalomaniacal authoritarians fear-mongering you about it, that propaganda you think you're immune to is working as effectively as it always has.
Once again, Carey Wedler with another killer video. I mean, it just packs a punch. And, it seems as if we are moving, though, rapidly towards some type of conflict in Venezuela. I see you all in the live chat. We had Jack Gamble, one of the best financial analysts out there. He is also saying, it's about the oil. It's about the collapsing financial system, the currency crisis that we're facing in the U.S. What are your thoughts? I mean, that was a great piece, but what are your thoughts on the underlying reasons behind this push now for Venezuela, or to go to war with Venezuela? And do you think this propaganda is going to work? Do you think the American people are going to fall for this? Love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, well, I think anytime the CIA is talking about the importance of democracy in a country, I think it's a bad road to go down.
Right, right.
I think that's how we know that the US should have nothing to do with what's going on there. And it's, I always hesitate to give like exact reasons why something is happening because I don't know. But I think it is very interesting that they go for the oil tanker. And now they're saying that Venezuela stole American assets. I believe I saw someone from the administration saying that, which something I struggle with this administration is, and I've been doing this since the Obama years. I feel like I'm pretty good at dissecting official propaganda, but I feel like they say things with such confidence that it's really hard. You really have to check yourself. It's like Trump saying that 94% of drugs have been halted. It's like, that sounds pretty good. That's got to be based on something. Right? Yeah. But actually, how could they possibly know? Really, where could they possibly get that figure? And they never offer any proof about it. Yeah. I made that video before Trump came out and said fentanyl is a weapon of mass destruction. That's like right. I just the level of recycling they're doing and the way, speaking to, are the American people going to fall for it? Unfortunately, I see a lot of people doing exactly that. And these are people who questioned the entire neocon agenda, who said they were voting for Trump because they were sick of neocons. And Trump said on Joe Rogan, he's not going to have any more neocons in his administration. And so he's not going to do it. And then who comes in but Marco Rubio? And he's pushing for some kind of action in Venezuela.
Absolutely.
And I can't help but think that to some extent, not that this is the underlying reason for it, but I can't help but think that politically, this is very helpful to Donald Trump. This allows him to distract from issues domestically that are not going his way. This allows him to distract from the economy, from the Epstein stuff. And if you can just come up with this really scary boogeyman that your base is going to be really triggered about, they're foreigners, they're drug cartels. They're taking, to me, two of the biggest issues in the last several decades, which is the war on terror and the war on drugs, and converging them, and they're capitalizing on the fear people have about both of these things.
Right.
And then they exploit that to just wrap it up into this like extra super nuclear boogeyman. And unfortunately, a lot of people understandably are scared about these issues and they want to see some kind of action.
Right.
And given the information I put in my video, I don't think that doing anything in Venezuela is going to have much effect at all whatsoever on the drug issues in the United States. But that's a really convenient villain to put all the blame on. And as we were saying, like with the oil, it seems like they're going for the oil. And I hear people say, well, America doesn't need oil. So I'd actually love other observations about that.
Right.
Because I hear so, and it's an understandable observation. I mean, look what happened in Iraq with the oil. They secured the oil fields. There's always and I think Chevron has something to do with Venezuela as well. So it kind of comes back to the same old United States collusion with corporations like the CIA did in Guatemala in 1954, I believe, for the United Fruit Company. They didn't like that their business was getting cut in on. And so the CIA stepped in and helped out. And I wouldn't be surprised if something like that is happening here, not the exact same format, obviously, or details. But what I can say with a lot of confidence is I'm yet to see a modern war where there was a legitimate reason based on complete truth and accuracy of intelligence.
Absolutely. And again, to your point with the brazen lying, I mean, I think they just came out yesterday saying that the United States has taken in 18 trillion with a T, trillion in tariffs, which is just, I mean, they just state these things that are so obviously false, but they say it with such conviction. And to your point, as I was talking with Jack Gamble about this yesterday, he thinks that the bigger goal is an armed conflict with China. He thinks that they would like to move us. So there are strategic resource, resource acquisitions, we'll say, that the United States would like to control leading up to this, big final battle with China, which should terrify everyone, which, by the way, is not a fait accompli. They want this. I think you're right, Carey, that they really want this. But they really wanted that conflict in Ukraine. And while we're still pumping money into Ukraine, no one really buys it. They really wanted to gin up more conflicts in the Middle East, and they're pumping a ton of money into the Middle East, but no one's really buying it. And so I could really actually see that happening with Venezuela, because I do know that once the rubber hits the road and they start saying things like, well, we're actually going to put boots on the ground, you see the American people rise up and say, oh, hell no more foreign wars. We don't want to do this. And now we have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey and even Rand Paul, and then also independent media that is, I think, organized enough to wage a counter narrative when they try to push these. And it's one of the reasons you're on my show. It's one of the reasons Jason Bassler is on my show. It's one of the reasons I bring in such independent sources, because we are going to need to be connected, because that's where they're going to try to take us. I mean, people should be prepared for some type of move and propaganda effort to bring us into a massive conflict with China. And that's a big one, I also think that there's another benefit. What you said about merging terror groups, weapons of mass destruction, narco-terrorism, crime in the interior, all of the criminal gangs that have coming in, combating those gangs, like lumping that all into this very, very messy, super scary narrative that involves, war actions abroad, but also war actions in this country. So domestic surveillance, the tech bros, the surveillance system, the digital currency, the digital ID, the militarization of our police, the deployment of the National Guard into the interior of the country. I think that is even a larger play. I think they would love to turn the U.S. into a military police state if they could get away with it. And so these narratives, I think, lend to all of that. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have an article about this on my Substack. I think it was a paid post. I occasionally do paid posts, but I
Mhm.
try to leave as much of it for free as possible. But if you look at the history of the war on terror and the war on drugs, they intersect very directly. Where, for example, the rise of SWAT raids. Well, SWAT teams were originally created to address really, hostage situations or really extreme events that needed rapid intervention. But very quickly, within the span of a decade or 2 decades, SWAT raids began to be used for drug raids. It became drug enforcement. And very early, well, in the 90s or so, early 90s, late 80s, the military became more involved in policing the drug trade and in the war on drugs. And so these things really kind of play into each other. Surveillance. So the Patriot Act, well, that came about to fight the war on terror. And what do they end up using it for? Very much in the war on drugs. And so these two things really, they've been intersecting for a long time, but this seems like a culmination of taking, again, like two of the scariest things you could possibly get in order to goad people into supporting some kind of conflict, which I just want to mention, I think is actually a good thing, is if you look back on American history, American people are really not that into war. They had to create an entire propaganda office during World War I
Right.
to convince people that they needed to go to war because it was a problem. The public did not want to join World War I. And
Hmm.
so they had to come up, and this is where the famous Edward Bernays, that was one of
Hmm.
his earliest jobs. I don't know if earliest, but he was a young man when he was working for the Committee on Public
But before
Information.
he convinced women to smoke cigarettes, pregnant women to smoke cigarettes as a sign of women's liberation,
Right.
and right before that, he just he created the entire department to convince us to go to war. Fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some classic war propaganda. But I do, but there always has to be propaganda, which again, I think it speaks to the goodness of human nature. I'm not saying I think all people are good and there are no bad actors and everything's just going to be utopia if we don't have these politicians. But I think there's they sow such a distrust of others and a fear of others, and they capitalize on that so much. And I think they rely on that in order to push a lot of the policies that people might otherwise be skeptical of. And so I'm hoping that with this weapons of mass destruction narrative, that kind of sits poorly with some people who might otherwise be going along with it. But I mean, this is just so glaring. They're not even bothering to change the language. They're just, it's
They're
the same
lazy.
propaganda. Yeah.
They're very lazy with the scripts.
Yeah.
It's a little insulting. You think that they could
Right.
cut, they have trillions of dollars. You think that they could come up with better actors and better scripts in all of this. And I think you're right. It seems as if when you look at all the fakery, we have the feud between Erica Kirk and Candace Owens. Megan Kelly's all up in the fracas now. It's like a middle-aged version of Mean Girls that I'm watching here with Megan's in the middle. She wants to like make them make up so they can go to the prom and all have fun with their boyfriend. Like I don't even understand what it is. But and then the Susie Wiles with the Vanity Fair and the infighting, the Nick Fuentes versus Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro and like all of this all of this chaos, part of me believes that that's the point. The point is utter and complete distraction from very real, not only threats to the American people and freedom and liberty, but very real mass movements against these people who are trying to deploy tyranny. You have local revolts. There are revolts across Europe. We have dozens and dozens of towns and villages across the US that are rejecting 5G. They're rejecting the data centers, right? And they're being very impactful and effective with it. You have just amazing movement now out of the medical freedom movement that is beginning to drive petitions and take on court cases, and then just plain old cultural civil disobedience and refusal to comply. People not buying the narrative, people not taking the shots, people going out and buying gold and silver and switching over a portion of their 401k to gold and silver, right? Like hedging against whatever they're going to do with our dollar. Like there are very real cultural moments happening right now. And I think the play is to get us off of that through fear and division and the circus sideshow. We have just a couple more minutes with you, but your thoughts on that as we finish out the interview.
Yeah, it's what I noticed because I've been doing this a while. I started making videos in 2000. I made my first video 2011, and then I got more consistent with it in 2014. But it really felt like we were hitting a stride with the anti-media, with the Free Thought Project, with the reach we were getting. And it's, of course, not always about the reach, but you kind of gauge, well, how many people are going to see this content? Obviously,
Right.
we want people to see the content. That's the goal. And it seemed like we were really hitting a stride. And it does feel, and I can't claim this with certainty, but it does feel like whoever has some influence at some of these, we believe that the Atlantic Council may have been involved in our banning, and you can read the article on my Substack for the details about why that is. But
Sure.
it really seemed like there was an intentional effort to kind of disempower those who were becoming anti-establishment. And I'm not saying that there's some nebulous they who selected Donald Trump for that exact reason, but I do believe that was the effect. There were a lot of people who were starting to check out of the two-party system, who were looking for more decentralized solutions, who were kind of just recognizing that this politics was theater. And with Donald Trump, a lot of people got sucked back into that.
Yes, they did.
And it happened again just this past election. There were a lot of people who were still kind of checked out, and then Trump said some really good things that sounded, if all you're doing is listening to what he's saying, I believe a lot of it was just absolutely terrible, but a lot of what he said did appeal to people. And I understand he was hitting on issues that people cared about. He was telling them what they wanted to hear, and that sucked a lot more people back in. And I do believe I'm seeing a lot of people who voted for him they've seen through it already. They're done. They recognize that they got tricked again. And I'm really glad. It seems like a faster turnover rate. Like
same.
Yeah.
Same. No, well, the key to Trump, the absolute critical key to Trump was MAHA. It was Bobby Kennedy Jr. and the medical freedom movement that was tormented and tortured and censored and shut down for 4 years during the Biden administration. They were so desperate for a champion that they bought into the fraud that was Bobby Kennedy Jr., MAHA, and that kind of pushed it over the edge. But again, to your point, I think that they're waking up really fast as well. It's accelerating. I think everything is accelerating and moving faster. And so I think this is why the circus sideshow, the soap opera, gets worse and worse and more unbelievable, because they're just like cycling through people very quickly, and they're not good actors. A lot of them are really bad, where you're just like, this is just not real. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I think in 2026 and 7, authenticity and what is real and what is genuine is going to be the theme. It's going to be the hot new thing. I do believe that. They're going to try to suppress it. And but I think if we have more and more voices like yours of people who are genuine and who are truth tellers, then we can push back against this. So I'm really actually, even though it's scary, I mean, the economy is going to collapse, probably going to go to war with China, might go to war with Venezuela. I get it, but there might be another pandemic. They're going to try to lock us down again. And, the big techno robotic monsters that Elon keeps talking about, like, it's all very scary. But I think when you just get to what is real and analog out in nature, you talk about this as well, like, settle your mind, don't allow the fear to set in. That is the first step. And then collaboration, organization, decentralization, bottom up local organization, all of those things. That's going to be the way we throw a million wrenches. We can throw 365 million wrenches in their plans by simply saying no, right? The population does have power. So Carey Wedler, one more minute just to close out, let people know how they can find you, and we'll make sure to have you on again for additional analysis, because you're great.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for having me. And I think just to add on to everything you just said, I think a lot more people are realizing that politicians are not coming to save them. And it reminds me of that school bus meme where a kid's looking out the window and it's like, no one's coming to save us. And it's all sad and treacherous. And then the other side is like, oh, no one's coming to save us. Cool. Like, I don't want these people to save me. Right. And I think that the more people can recognize that these politicians, these people in power, are no more qualified to run their lives than they are, and that they actually don't have a right to do that. I think as long as more people keep realizing that and taking that initiative in their daily lives, in their personal lives, I think there will be a ripple effect. And it may take a while, and I don't think it's just like an easy fix and it's just one and done, but I do have hope, and I'm optimistic and grateful for people like you. So you can find me at careywedler.com, CareyW, how do I spell my name? WEDLER.com.
It's awesome. CareyWedler.com. And yeah, girl, to your point, it's been 10 very long years. Okay. So no, it's not easy, but I don't lose hope. I'm
For
ever
sure.
the optimist. And honestly, things seem different today than they did 10 years ago. And they seem
Yeah.
better in a lot of ways too, even amidst the chaos. Carey Wedler, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
Bye.
CareyWedler.com is her website, and there's a link tree right there that you can get all of her links to all of her socials. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, another independent, another truth teller out there, completely genuine, completely real, not a sellout. She'll be with us for our crossover segment in just about 18 to 20 minutes. It is On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, her live show. She has some great guests lined up as well. I cannot wait to talk about Susie Wiles with Dr. Mary. I need to get her thoughts on this. This is the craziest storyline, the craziest episode of reality DC I have seen in quite some time. And I can't wait to get her thoughts on that, mainly because Susie Wiles, as you guys know, is super tethered to pharma. And voices like mine and Mary's, we were out there very early talking about Susie Wiles, deaf ears, of course. But when we come back, we're going to discuss that and more with the Dr. Mary Talley Bowden right here on the Shannon Joy Show. Thank you to Satellite Phone Store, sat123.com/joy, sat123.com/joy. Without their amazing sponsorship, we couldn't bring the show to you every day. And it's always 10% off for every Joy viewer and listener with the promo code JOY. Why do we love them? Well, among other things, the satellite phones, the generators, the solar panels, everything you need for when the lights go out. They also have the most extensive line, one of the best quality lines of Faraday technology, beanies, bags, blankets, apparel. This is a way for you to reduce your body's exposure to EMF, electromagnetic frequencies. And as we know, talking to Dr. Williams, that exposure can impact your heart health. And so a regular usage of that type of technology, super helpful. Again, so thankful to the Satellite Phone Store, among our other sponsors. Just want to tell you a little bit about my financial advisor. He's been with me for over 15 years, Don Polano of PCM and Associates. As you all know, my philosophy on investing is all of the above. So you know I'm hugely bullish on gold and silver, physical gold and silver, and also the gold and silver IRA. I also love real estate, which I can't get into right now because it's too overpriced. So that's kind of a bummer. But I also have money in the stock market, the good old traditional stock market. Now, right now, I am not in tech stocks at all whatsoever. I have very, very boring stocks and some international. And this is what I love about Don Polano is that he knows, he respects my belief system. He shares my belief system. And for what I do have in the stock market, in those investments for my retirement, he takes great care of me. He helps people all over the country and the world. And he is taking on clients, opening it up to all of you. So if you go to 1-800, if you call 1-800-536-1368, that is 1-800-536-1368. You can talk to Dom and get started. If you are unsure of the politics of your financial advisor, or if you're a little jittery about the stock market right now and you want to move some things around, he is your guy. You can also go to pcmpolano.com to learn more about him. That is pcmpolano.com. It is wonderful to have a financial analyst and advisor who shares my values, and that's Don Polano. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. Without further ado, I want to welcome into the Joy Virtual Studio the amazing Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. She's the host of On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, live every Wednesday, and doing a phenomenal job. Big show lined up today. She has two guests, Les McColgan and Ron Ethelbein, coming up. I can't wait to hear about that. Tell us what you have lined up for us today on the show, Dr. Mary.
Les is a local in Houston, and I actually met him very recently He is the head of Gulf Coast Outreach Services, and he has a novel way to deal with fentanyl overdoses. And he's made a huge impact locally, and he's trying to get more attention so that he can spread his efforts nationally. But he is saving lives with his program to reverse opioid overdose. Which is very timely because Trump came out yesterday and called fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. Then we're going to talk to Dr. Ron Ethelbein, who is an emergency room doctor who really stepped up to the plate during COVID and huge proponent of monoclonal antibodies.
Great.
He became very outspoken when Biden took away monoclonal antibodies. And, that was basically a cure for COVID. Monoclonal antibodies worked super well. Incredibly safe, had no issues. I used them as much as I could. And then the government basically took them away so that people would get the COVID shot. I mean, the timing could not be clearer. As soon as they took away monoclonal antibodies, they mandated the COVID shots. And so Dr. Ethelbein spoke out, and he had been in the media a lot. He'd been on Fox News a lot, and he blasted Biden when that happened.
Great.
And a few months later, indicted by Biden's DOJ for upcoding. So every doctor who contracts with the government has to submit a claim, and there are 5 different levels. And basically the government is saying he should have coded all these patients as a level 3 instead of a level 4, which is a $50 difference. It's not a big difference.
Right.
And you look at the guidelines for coding, he followed the guidelines. Now, maybe the guidelines are wrong, but he followed the guidelines. But now they want to put him in jail for 50 years.
What?
It is really bad. This is another Kirk Moore situation. And this is the first time he's spoken out publicly. His lawyers have advised him not to speak out, but he's basically, Hail Mary.
Oh, my word.
He has 4 children about the same age as my children. He's the same age as I am. He really went, I mean, when you look at his bio, all the things he's done during the pandemic, he really went above and beyond what most people did. And now it is tragic what has happened to him. He has spent millions in legal fees.
Wow.
He's about to go in trial in August, where millions more he's looking at. So we just
my word,
get this case dismissed as soon as possible.
Now, what state is this, Mary? Is he being prosecuted in?
Maryland.
This is in Maryland. Did you see the interview that I did or the story about Dr. Shireen Ishmael? She is another pediatrician in New York State who was arrested, handcuffed, and is now facing felonies in New York. I interviewed her last week, facing felonies in New York for they're accusing her of falsifying a vaccine document for her son. They've now taken the next step to work. They went out, these Gestapo investigators in New York State for the New York State Health Department have been harassing her for months. They arrested her. They're bringing these charges. They recently took the extra steps of going and finding her violent and abusive ex-husband who lives in the state of Florida. They had basically are sharing information with him, which has now led to him using their information to file legal proceedings to take her son from her, which is insane. She has an order of protection against this guy in New York State. And she's having, but this issue, and as a medical doctor, it's one thing, the money is one thing, and I can understand all of that, but to realize you might lose her 7-year-old son. She's a single mother right up here in Syracuse, New York is where she practices. And, this persecution of medical doctors is not ending. Your persecution is not ending. Texas Medical Board just ruled against you, which you have to appeal now. We have this situation in Maryland with Dr. Ethelbein, who clearly was a hero. This is why we cannot let this go. We can't let COVID go. We can't let the fact that they tormented us and abused the American population and poisoned the American population during the Trump administration and the Biden administration. It's why your voices are so necessary. But can you believe that?
That is awful. And, I've seen this a lot with divorced parents where they weaponize the vaccines against each other.
That's
and
awful.
go to court over it, and it becomes a big mess. So, people that are getting a divorce, you need to sort that out before you sign those divorce papers, because it can become a real problem after the fact.
Yeah, it's horrifying. It's horrifying. So we're going to keep an eye on that story for all of you. And the other thing I wanted to mention, it's a big deal when President Trump declares fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. That there are a lot of things that kick in that are not good for privacy and liberty and the peaceful nature of the American people, right? Like they can use that to wage war. They can use that to wage domestic war. They can use that to justify mass surveillance and the requirements of digital IDs and the surveillance state. And so it is absolutely critical. I mean, that's why I love what you're doing with Les McColgan. It's absolutely critical to have solutions, right? If you have a solution, if you have a cure for fentanyl overdose and you can cut that down and we can take care of these things as citizens right here in our own country, it takes away the power from political operatives to do nasty things in the name of scaring people about something like fentanyl. So, that's one tactic and technique that I think is really important. And it's interesting that you point out, they will take away good solutions in order to deploy weapons of mass destruction on their own. And they did that with the COVID shots. They took away monoclonal antibodies and used that as an excuse, made people desperate, use it as an excuse to deploy the bioweapon that was the COVID shots.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And what Les is doing, I mean, he has shown I believe a 60% decrease in overdose mortality in his local area in Galveston. And it's a very inexpensive solution. He has these vending machines set up that cost, I think, less than $1,000 with Narcan in them.
Wow.
And he's really the only one who has come up with a solution. And he is a former addict, so he has sort of firsthand experience in this. But he's making a huge impact in the local area. And we're hoping that we can get the story out so that, this could be a national effort that really makes a lot of sense.
Dr. Mary Telly Bowden, we warned everyone about Susie Wiles. We had her number I mean, I was tweeting about Susie Wiles in the spring of 2024, before Trump even won the presidency, when she came on as, I believe, his campaign manager or chief of staff of his presidential campaign. And we knew about her ties to Big Pharma. We were blowing the whistle on Casey and Callie Means and the Means twins and the takeover of the medical freedom movement by these Maha people. What do you make of this recent Vanity Fair debacle? I mean, I don't think it's a debacle. I think it's exactly what they wanted, but I'm dying to know what you think about the Susie Wiles Vanity Fair piece.
Well, there's just absolutely no way she didn't know what she was getting herself into.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I did an interview with Vanity Fair and I knew what I was getting into. And I don't have the experience she does. And they couldn't find a quote to discredit me because I was so cautious about what I said.
Exactly.
So they went after ivermectin instead because they couldn't catch me with anything.
Right.
11 interviews with Vanity Fair. What in the world? I mean, I could understand a 5-minute, a 5-minute statement, but 11 interviews. I almost wonder if the reporter seduced her.
Susie
I just
Wiles.
don't get it.
What is the name of the Harry Potter villainess that you
Dolores, is it Dolores Claiborne?
Dolores.
My kids here, they know. But yes, she looks exactly like her.
It's a cross between Cruella de Vil and Dolores Claiborne on Harry Potter. Now, I think it's actually very crafted, carefully crafted and curated imagery of a villain. I think that she wants that. You can kind of tell in the Vanity Fair piece, again, 11 interviews. I agree with you. There's no way that Susie Wiles did not know exactly what she was doing. And, the seduction, I don't know about that. I personally think, and I was convinced of it yesterday. It was my hunch in the morning when I saw 11 interviews over 6 months, Vanity Fair. Like, this woman is a cold, hard, calculating political operative. This is not her first rodeo. It's not her first time around the block. She's been doing this for 30 years. Okay. So, I mean, ties to the Russians, ties to Israelis, ties to massive pharmaceutical corporations and massive banks. Okay. So there's just no way. It was just a couple hours later when we saw the coordinated rollout of the entirety of the Trump administration cabinet, glowing recommendations about Susie Wiles. Like, this is the woman who bashed them relentlessly in this Vanity Fair piece, including Trump himself. And I don't know if he's even made a statement yet, but it's like JD Vance and Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio. I have a whole list here. Who else do we have? Marco Rubio.
Caroline Leavitt.
I mean, Tulsi Gabbard. And I don't have
Secretary Kennedy.
Yeah, Secretary Kennedy's was like, she is the most amazing, wonderful, kindest, warmest soul in the whole wide. I'm like, who are you? No one's buying this, right? But so that shows to me, and this is just my hunch, but I think we're seeing a peaceful transfer of power. I think the age of Trump is over. He will be a figurehead. He'll be on the campaign trail. He'll be out of the White House. He'll be out campaigning for 2026, even though they're tanking that election. They're going to hand it to the Democrats. I've already called it. But I think that this is showing the investors we've got a real girl in charge. I mean, this girl's in charge. That's why she's in the middle. They're all surrounding her. Susie Wiles has taken the throne. She's the woman, and I think that this was a power move, a very clear, very obvious power move. Susie Wiles has the balls.
Do you think it's Susie Wiles 2028?
No, I don't think that she could win an election, but the elections aren't really real anyway. So I think that they'll put someone lovable, some kind of figurehead that's going to dance at the rallies like Trump, and say funny things. And then there's going to be the cold hard calculator back in DC that is doing the biddings of their corporate oligarch backers. That is my perspective here on this. I could be wrong. But I think Susie's here to stay. I'm hearing all of this analysis. Oh, she's going to have to go crawling back to Trump. I'm like, yeah, okay. All right. Yeah. Not happening.
Yeah, I like your analysis. I think I agree.
I mean, we're going to know what's going to happen. We're going to see it play out. But well, I'm really looking forward to your show today. Great guests lined up on call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. I want to really encourage all of you. We're going to cross over now. It's time to launch the show. And I see that your first guest is ready to go. And just want to thank all of you for being with me today on the Shannon Joy Show. I'm going to close out my show and then hand it over to Dr. Mary. Anything else you want to say to the Joy audience before I shut down and we start your show up?
Well, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in 2026.
That's true. I didn't tell the audience yet. We're taking 2 full weeks off. It's not going to be totally off, but yes, have a wonderful break, and we're going to be raring to go starting up in January. And thanks for everything that you do. All right.
Thank you, Shannon.
All right, and thank you to all of you for being with me today on the Shannon Joy Show. You guys are amazing. Bill Benz, Hells Bay, LT Oracle of Truth, Mod Trend, Never Married. Zen Woman, Mr. Worthless Eater. And hey, Slim Jones, thank you for gifting 5 subscriptions to the Shannon Joy Show. You are amazing. I so appreciate you. And I appreciate all of you on the live chat. Tomorrow, the Peter Schiff will be with me live on the SJ Show. He just finished an interview with Tucker Carlson. Can't wait to hear what he has to say about that. And we have a big announcement for all of you tomorrow on the show. So do not miss tomorrow's show. And there is going to be time for just us. I can take some of your questions and comments. And we're going to be doing I'm going to be doing a live self-promoted Shannon Joy Show on Friday. And we're also going to do a documentary or a movie showing behind the Rumble Premium paywall. So I'll fill you in on all of that tomorrow. So we have a lot left to do here on the Shannon Joy Show this week, and I can't wait to spend some more time with you guys. So have a wonderful rest of the day. We're going to close down the Shannon Joy Show now and start up On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. Keep it tuned right here.